What's up? You're listening to For All Nerds, and on this episode, we talk about episode 5 of Ironheart, in which White Castle tries to compete with Waffle House
for best fight ever. The first thing that hit me on episode 5 was that when they was first of all, this was the battle royale in White Castle. I was just laughing.
Oh, I love that.
Okay, people have been upset about that.
Why?
For people who have seen everything like us, because that was one of the things where they're like this. They could have fought in I don't know, the Chicago fast food restaurant.
That's a Chicago. I mean, Chicago.
It's also a New York thing. So that's the thing. Are those people who were complaining from Chicago?
I think so. In this instance,
they want them to fight. And what's that? The name of the hot dog spot?
Or that chicken spot?
Or is that Detroit?
Harold's Chicken.
Harold's Chicken. Yeah, Harold's. Yeah,
they want them to fight in Harold's.
Harold's don't have that much room.
That's not tropey at all.
I've never been in Harold's.
It's so good.
That's not tropey at all. What the fuck was wrong with? First of all, White Castle probably paid that bread to get featured number one.
But let me. Can I say something about this? So I feel like I don't know. White Castle kind of screwed themselves because she throws up her White Castle. so I was like, oh, they're
which is fitting. Let's be real.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
It's going to come out one end or the other. It's going to come out.
Yeah. No shade, all shade to White Castle. I grew up with that and love it.
I love White Castle.
My God, that's
fuck
not
up
good
some
for
White
you.
Castle right the fuck
up some
now.
White Castle.
As a Houstonian dog, I'd never White Castle was the thing that rappers talked about. That was not a thing for me growing up.
Oh, did y'all not have a White Castle?
Oh hell no!
No, they didn't have that. They had crystals and some other shit.
Where are you from, Ben?
Where you from? What? Wait, what?
Maybe not you in Houston, but down south they have something called crystals in some states, which is almost the equivalent to White Castle.
We have Whataburger.
Yeah, well, we're talking about a very particular type of burger. We're talking about that.
A good one.
Steamed.
Yeah, well, not White Castle, but...
No, we're talking about sliders.
We're talking about sliders.
Yeah, no, White Castle has sliders. I know. Whataburger has real burgers. They're exceptional.
Right.
But did y'all have sliders? Did you have a place that has sliders?
Nah, not that I
don't think that was a thing.
Sliders was a thing that it wasn't until very recently in my life that I was like, oh, okay, slide.
Yeah.
That. No.
White Castle was an up north thing, New York. Yeah. I didn't even realize they did it like that in Chicago. So when I saw it, I was like, well, that's familiar. But yeah. This fight happening in the, again, I felt like I was on a Tekken stage. I loved it.
Yeah,
it was so random and in the hood, it was in a neighborhood. It wasn't like some random set piece. It wasn't on top of the tallest tower. It was on the ground in a fucking restaurant that happened to be on the strip where you be at. That made sense to me.
All White Castles look alike too, so it felt like the one that I've been in. It felt like the same.
So it felt familiar. There's a familiarity there. And remember, I think I gotta say this. The show is very black. White. I'm not saying only black people go to White Castle because they love White Castle in Japan. I'm gonna tell you that. But black people know White Castle, okay? When you see that, especially from a certain region anyway, and when you see that shit, it's like, I know that. I know that place. That's for real.
The first time I had White Castle was I lived in Chicago. I used to work at Best Buy, and we used to have 6 a.m. meetings on Saturdays. And after those meetings, we'd all go to White Castle. So that definitely is a Chicago thing. So it's
You said after 6 a.m. What the fuck was y'all eating, Chris?
They was there in the morning. We were up in the morning. We went to White Castle.
You get them breakfast sandwiches, right? They have
we had the sliders.
No, them niggas was eating cheeseburgers and onion rings at 6 a.m.
It was probably 7:38, but no, I thought it was just funny that White Castle. It was just it was random, but it wasn't because it was just White Castle. You know what they're doing? They're ruining your restaurant, and the lead character is the lead character threw up your food.
But here we are talking about it. But here we are talking about fuck up some White Castle right now.
I had some 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And
the novelty of it.
Fun fact: White Castle has become integral in pieces of Black culture because they helped to fund Telfar. So here we are
for
the first fashion show. So you got to look up that story of White Castle and how that came to be. Literally, Telfar just asked them, "Would you help?" And they was like, "Bet."
That's dope. It's
so
I just
random.
remember it just as a kid going to the White Castle on Boston Road in the Bronx. And you could just get what felt like mad food because everything is tiny. It just felt like, we're about to have a feast. I could get more than French fries as a side.
I was so like, that's what I mean. But my first experience with White Castle, I was like, what? And they brought out sliders. I was like, okay, this is interesting.
You thought it was nasty?
Well, by the time I ate White Castle, I was only eating fish, so I think I had like
They got fish fillet.
They have a good fish sandwich. They got a fish fillet. Yeah. I'm very familiar.
Not bad. It's not bad. And I remember the fries. I wasn't like mad at it. No, I was not like, I've only been to like, twice in my life, I think, but I wasn't mad at it. No.
Yeah.
Now that we're talking about this White Castle fight, so I do want to correct myself. Last week when we were talking about the siblings, the blood siblings, I actually misgendered. I was trying to say they for the most part. I was trying to say they, but I know I flubbed a few times. But Jerry Blood is actually trans-masculine in both real life and in the show. Yeah, okay. They're non-binary trans-masculine person. And I hear it in and maybe their pronouns were used before, but I heard Jerry referenced as him in the White Castle.
Okay.
I didn't realize that. They so when they though.
Well, perhaps, but when Roz, when they go into the White Castle, Jerry is like, all right, everybody out, we're closed or whatever. And then when they don't leave, Roz is like, he said get out, or he said they're closed. Right.
Okay.
But a lot of us use multiple pronouns or whatever.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's something that like, even with the one from Madripoor, like they were introduced as they. And then at one point I heard someone say, get off her, or she needs to do this. Or
yeah.
So
a lot of us use multiple pronouns. Okay. I'm she, they. When somebody days me, I feel warm and fuzzy and cozy inside or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a very important thing. So it's not uncommon to use flex pronouns. It's not uncommon.
I day as many people as I can just because
I tried to do
better bet actually.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So I tried to do that last week, but I think there was a time or two where I misgendered them. So I want to mention that, and then I in my research of this, in the comics, are they? You want to talk about them in the comics a little bit? Are they? They're blood.
Aliens.
Are they blood brothers in the comics?
They're. I guess they're aliens. Like their gender might not be. Who knows?
It might not even be
saw them
like that.
Right. Okay. I saw them referenced repeatedly as brothers, so I thought that
they're
was
called the blood brothers. Yeah, they're not called the blood siblings. So got it. I mean, but they're aliens. Who knows?
Right.
Yeah, they're red-skinned aliens. They were created by Jim Starlin, and they're very much alien. They don't ever, as far as I know, even interact with anyone on Earth. So they pretty much just took the name and use it on other characters.
Gotcha.
And I've seen that. I've seen two sides of the story, so I don't know which one is true. Because in the Slug is from Madripoor, and in the comics, there is one Slug that I know of who is this giant fat white man who is a crime boss and fought with Captain America and Captain America's sidekick named Nomad when I knew him. But then someone said that there's another Slug in the comics who this one is based off of. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if they just took the white man Slug and flipped it like they did with the Blood Brothers, or there's another Slug that is based off of. I'm not sure on that one.
There was an exchange in the White Castle again, which I thought just the social commentary of the show, whether overt or not, when what you said, the siblings, they were saying, when the news comes and they talk about your death, and Riri said, my death won't make the news.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck. Like for her to have to say that, and then again, that's when it came back again for me, Janicia, when you keep talking about how you have to remember she's a child. She's a child. That's when it came back for a child to be saying that. A black child to be saying that. I was like, ugh. Like,
and that also says something to how much people know about her as Ironheart. Like we were saying, like I don't think the whole Wakanda stuff is very well known.
That's not common knowledge.
If it was known, like like the Avengers are known to have fought off Thanos or fought off the thing in New York, I think more people would know about her dying in a White Castle.
Right.
And she's a genius.
I think it'd be known.
Yeah, that's true.
What you say, Chris, about a genius?
She was a genius.
No, geniuses getting killed in a White Castle would not make the news. I don't think.
No, I mean, wasn't she a Scott? What about was it episode 1 or 2?
She's a black genius though. So
when she gets recruited,
it'd be like black girl gets shot in White Castle.
I think it would make the local black paper for sure.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
But so she's also witnessed so many people die. That she knows how that goes. She
did not make the news.
Right. It spoke to her relationship with death as a black girl from Chicago, living in Chicago.
which is,
I'm sure Gary and Natalie didn't make the news.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And that, I thought everything y'all just said, I just thought about in that moment. And then that also made it hard to take, because like she was just telling her truth. And I was just like, fuck, for you to have to even deal with that thought, which is what we deal with all the time as Black people in America. So,
you know, it is like
and before we get, I mean, we're talking about it, but like one thing we didn't talk about was the two fight. Well, before the two fights is the mention of Dormammu in the scene. And, you know, Zelma saying that it's Dormammu who's controlling everything or behind the hood. And what did y'all feel about that?
I thought it was funny because we know that's not the case. I already knew from jump that I'm like, that's not fucking Dormammu. Like Strange dealt with Dormammu already. He played his ass.
Yeah.
How many times he did that scene over and over again against him? Remember in the movie where he
came to bargain.
He just kept bargaining with him like literally maybe 999,000 times or some shit like that. He already played his ass, and Dormammu said, "Get the fuck out of my house." So we knew Dormammu had nothing to do with this. I did anyway.
Dormammu looked like a nigga in one of those Hotep pamphlets. That's how deep the Hotep bullshit can get. Where you're not looking at a comic book, you're looking at a for real ass Black fucking literature. Okay, and it's fucking Black people passing these fucking pamphlets around with aliens and shit in them. Okay.
Anyway. Cult coming soon.
Oh God.
Listen, we got past that, but I just want to get back and I'm going to fast forward a bit just so that we can get through. But really, like, it was several things other things, and more like these realization points, right? Because we're in the heroes arc right now.
There's something big in this episode we need to talk about.
Yeah, something big. So so you mentioned it earlier. Well, no, maybe a few episodes ago, you was just like, you know, the mom asked, "Why are you doing this Iron suit?" Excuse me. And Riri says, "Because I could." And then, you know, she makes her dig deeper. And that's what we're seeing that happens over and over this episode, where it's just like Riri, again, she's going through so much. Yes, she's a child, and it's so much to calculate and interrogate in her mind, in her spirit, about everything happening. And it's stuff that she still has not come to terms with. She has not come to terms with the death of her stepfather, the death of her best friend, the way that whole shit happened, which was traumatic. She has not come to terms with none of that shit and allowed herself to heal from it, or even begin to heal from it. At least that's how I see. She's still suffering deeply from it. And she actually, when her mother like kind of pushes her to talk a bit more, she goes into she says the reason why she wanted it. When she says, you know, the paramedics came 1 minute too late. And if I was able to, you know, they was there, right? Because remember, that's her premise when she talks to the MIT people. They say, well, why are you doing this? They said, this is going to revolutionize, you know, the medical industry, or this is going to revolutionize emergency care and all that stuff. It's really because that was her way. She can't change time. She wanted to save them. And this is her, I guess, retroactive way of potentially being able to do something to save them. Like Riri's whole thing is about, I need to do something. I can, so I should. And in that moment, she couldn't. So now she's been reconciling with that thought for so long since that happened. I'm not as quite sure when that incident happened, but she's been reconciling with that this whole time, on top of being at war and this and this and that. So I just think like you see that happening a lot this episode. Like towards this is also an episode where her mom brings her back to the garage, and you know, Natalie AI shows her that imagery, that video of when Riri was a child, dancing with her father, you know, having the good times. And you see Riri's like turn that shit off. At first, she don't even want to deal with it. Again, just not being able to come to terms that it's too hurtful, it's too much. But then being able to sit with it. Go ahead.
I think that's the best scene in this show.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It's incredible.
And that's a great needle drop with that Leon Bridges. And I think maybe you guys might have touched on it in a previous episode, but like the needle drops on here are really great too. Mm-hmm. And I'm a sucker for dad stuff, especially after my dad died. But like that was just a pure moment with a Black man and his kid. That's powerful. And her, and like Tatiana, like you mentioned, her not wanting to deal with it, and Natalie saying, hey, no, you have to face this. You have to see this, because if you forget, what did she say? I forget the line, but
yeah, but it was a good line about you don't want to forget this. Yeah.
Right. It's a powerful scene. And it's like, and I think, and to our discussion about the emotional intelligence, I think that's where the shift is. And then that's where you see Community come in, you see all that, those really great montages. But I think that's where you see her shift. I think that's where you see her actually come to a realization to want to do better until episode 6. But like I really thought that was a powerful scene.
I second that. I thought it was a very powerful scene. And again, this shows that when people have these criticisms of the show where they're like, it's not well written, it's not well directed. I'm gonna look at this montage. This is really incredibly well done. Having all these characters come back around who were, some of them were introduced, like the little boy in the first episode, and to have him come back around and be part of this community that uplifts Riri, and just to show the blackness in that, of a black community coming together. Like you said, the black dad with his daughter. I mean, super emotional. Just everything was, I thought that was also great. And also a really great contrast to one of my big problems with this episode and how the hood deals with his community. But I'll get to that in a second unless anyone else had anything else to say on that montage scene and all that.
No, because
that's where I really.
Now keep going, Ben.
All right. Well, this is where me and Janicia definitely had disagreements or discussions about last week how the queer representation is on this show, and this episode where I was like, well, we could have saved some of that criticism because this is where I fully agree with you. Like my man Hood just basically puts the whole queer contingent on the elevator and sends them away. And they do not return.
I'm laughing because it was like
I was rolling on my second rewatch because that's when I realized this shit. I'm like, wait a minute, they're not in episode 6, so this is the last we see them is get on this elevator, poof.
Literally,
all of
Clown tries on his fit and he says that was the last fucking straw for him. He said, "Fuck no." It was like a Martin episode where he goes,
"Now get the stepping."
Get the stepping. Like he fucking kicked them all the fuck out and said, "Y'all can leave."
And they don't they don't show up again to help out Riri. Nothing, it is just like, get the fuck out of this series.
You literally do not see them again. Literally, they even show, like, after Clown presses the button, they show the slow-mo of the
door closing. No, that show is fucking hilarious.
That's enough of that.
Yeah, I think it's a wrap. And again, I have to agree with you, Jay, because, like, a lot of the marketing has featured them so prominently where it's really ridiculous that they get sent away like this and how they've been dealt with throughout this whole series. So, yeah, I was like, we could have saved that because, it wholeheartedly deserved it in that moment. That was ridiculous.
It deserved it when I said it, but
yeah, true indeed.
But yes, everybody saw it. That was a physical manifestation of that, especially with the elevator closing.
No, the elevator closing was because it's like you see all their faces, and they're all just staring ahead, and it's just like goodbye.
Yeah. I was just like I said, the second watch, I was laughing like, damn, they just unceremoniously ushered them out. Like,
I had to text Tatiana, like, yo, hold up, they don't show up again, right?
Yeah, he asked me, and I was just like, nah. I said, after Clown tried on his fit, he kicked him the fuck out. He said, oh, yeah.
Oh, my
it was
God.
also Clown investigating him, because Clown starts looking into the whole Rampage thing and questions him.
Yeah.
Now, I
love her character. I love her character. Clown to the end, ride or die. I love her.
All right, yeah. Well, And then Clown also tried to blow Riri up in this episode.
She thought that Riri killed. She was told that Riri killed John. She's a rider. You know what I'm saying? And
after
so John she was doing what she had to do.
Hey, she's a rider. Like she's a rider. Says, she's a
rider. And she rode that whole. We didn't mention this, but quickly in episode 5, we see her have a code. You know what I'm saying? Because she does have a code. Yeah, because she's asked about that white man if he killed Riri.
Yep.
Hood is asking, and she co-signs it, and she knows she watched Riri walk away alive. Yeah, but she knows something weird is up. This is when her antennas go up. This is when it's like, okay, this is not really what I thought it was. This man is not who I thought he was, and so we get into the bottom of things or whatever. I think
it's also been shown that Clown enjoys abusive relationships because she burned up.
See, you're gonna make me say something I didn't want to say. I'm gonna have to say it now. I'm gonna have to say it. Well, first say what you mean real quick. So
she burned up her ex's car. She's definitely in that type of, where
we don't know what happened with that relationship, but
we do know that was toxic.
Sure, anything that ends in that kind of violence is toxic, but we also don't know what she was getting her lick back for. You know what I'm saying?
No, I know that. I'm not saying that. Okay, I'm just saying. I didn't say
still
that.
Toxic.
It's still toxic in the story. It's still toxic.
Sure, lots of us have been in toxic relationships.
We have,
right?
and lots of us don't burn up cars. But I also think that just John banging her head into the thing, that's where I'm kind of like.
That's where you drew the line. Like, is that your brother or
a code or not? Like John, physically abused you. Like that's where I'm like, nah, you don't, like fuck that. Like I'm done with
you also know how abuse works, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, and that's what I say about Clown, where it's like. And that's what I also said about the crew. They were also a crew who was willing to go along with that type of shit.
No, that's not what Tatiana was saying about abuse.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
But what Tatiana is saying, Tatiana, say what you're saying about abuse and how abuse works.
Well, just in the fact that, like, I know what you said. Like, yes, from a logic 1 + 1 = 2 perspective, someone bangs your head into a floor, you would be like, fuck that. But that's not how that works in that type of relationship. And again, we don't know all the details about Clown, but in that type of situation, and particularly when you are the victim in that situation, you're not going to see it in that light. You're not that doesn't equate to you. If anything, that I'm not even going to say what she may have even taken that as, but the point is that she's not going to come to the same conclusion that you did, Ben, not in that type of relationship, because it could have been a higher, deeper relationship than you knew of, and she's going to give with what you would see as a pass or something like that.
Well, that's exactly what I am saying. But I also do say that Clown had a problem with it earlier. She addressed John. She was like, yo, this is fucked up. So that's why I'm like, I just don't know exactly where she was. Like, I get she defended Riri in that moment, but I also don't understand why she didn't, more so, have an issue with the whole crew as it is.
I'm gonna say it. I think we're being hard on her because she's a black girl. I think that's the association of her as, I think we're being, of all the characters, right? Of all those villains, right? We'll call them villains. Of all the villains in that crew, she is the one that we get the most amount of nuance and depth with. And I feel, I just don't see how we can see her as, I don't know. To me, she was the most humanized, at least the way that she was written. She was the most humanized. She was given the most depth. And it feels like talking about her, not that we should not talk about black villains as villains, right? Yep. But I feel like we're being a little bit heavy-handed, and I feel like we're being heavy-handed because she's a black girl. Well, this is Chris. I'm talking about. We talked about this last episode together as well. It's not just this episode.
Just from this though, I'll say that they're the henchmen, and I think a lot of them are talented. I think this Sonia Denise, who played Clown, was just good. Because when I saw that moment when Parker was questioning them. And I was like, because in that moment, I was like, oh, shit, he knows. It's something he knows that she's still alive. Yeah. And then when she said, yeah, we took care of her and we did this and we did that. And I was like, did he believe that? I don't know. But so go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. You were talking. Go ahead.
No, I think sending them down the elevator, I think it's just like a weird way of just like getting rid of the quote unquote bumbling henchman. Where I thought that White Castle scene was pretty compelling, the way she eluded them and everything, and I was happy that she made light work of them into a certain degree. Yeah. But those are the quintessential
henchmen,
bad people, bad guys.
Yeah, I personally I wasn't tough on none of them. I was just like that they are who they are, and they were chosen for their skill set in crime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, I felt that Clown, yes, she may have exhibited the most, was written anyway to exhibit the most out of all of them in terms of humanity. At the same time, she was also written, in my view, to be a pyromaniac and an anarchist.
Yeah.
And whatever you feel about anarchy is, everybody else's business, but like me, I'm just like, okay, crime's great. Slug. They off the bat, they said, I'm from Madripoor. Madripoor is basically a land of villains. So I just thought, okay, crime. And then the twins or the siblings, all they wanted to do was fucking have a fight club.
They was founding a fight club and they wanted to build another fight club.
I was like, at least they're consistent. But even in the little bit of backstory we got, they was doing this shit illegally. Crime. So all I saw was henchmen.
Yeah,
and that is not fair necessarily because, again, this was all concentrated within a queer group of people. But That's what I got from what they wanted.
And I think for me, the distinction comes when we start talking about like somebody's character versus them being a criminal versus them being a henchman. Because I feel like what we were shown about her character is that her character is bigger and broader and more expansive and nuanced than just being a henchman. And what some of the conversation has been in the last review and a little bit of this one is about her character. And that's when it starts to feel like we're being a little heavy-handed with her because she's a Black girl.
And I want to move on, but I'll just say, well, I'll agree to disagree here, because I don't feel like I'm being heavy-handed on her because she's a Black girl. I just think that I'm asking the question, like, her character is very interesting to me. Like, John beats on her, but then she's willing to blow up Riri over John. And that's interesting. That's like,
it gives Harley Quinn vibes. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I said that last week. And
I don't like that comparison.
Yeah, I know.
I don't like the term reprimanded. I don't like the term reprimanded. I don't like that shit either.
I want to say
Hermine. I don't like it.
That's it's just I was told I was wrong. Parallels. I see. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I believe.
Yes, I believe it's a bad. Reductive. It's a reductive comparison in my opinion. But I hear you.
You can still just because a character is a bad person or a criminal is the same way we liked Walter White, we liked Tony Soprano, not a saint.
Who is we, my nigga? Read the room. Read the room.
No. Chris,
read the room, my friend.
For Ben, all you got to do is say Jamie Lannister, and he would have been on your side from Jump Street.
I'm sorry, I didn't watch that show. But the same way critics lauded Omar or any of these characters that were considered bad, who were breaking rules.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you can have empathy for them. You can have compassion for them. It's a testament to the work that these actors are doing. It's not. You can feel everybody has team this person, team that person, but it's these characters in the world of this show. Riri is the hero. These other people, his henchmen, are not.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
And so it's not called.
I said this too last week. I said Riri's the protagonist.
It's not
and
called
what's the name of the antagonist?
Clown or any of these other people.
I said
it's not called that. You can I like my fave, the best to me, one of the best actors on the show, Manny Montana, Cousin John. Bad guy. Not a good guy.
Episode 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you. Just to again quickly close this out. This episode, we also see them. She gets to rebuild the Ironheart suit with the dad's. I don't know what kind of car it is. Is that a Camaro? Whatever that car is. Hot rod.
Somebody's gonna be yelling.
Come on, Chris, be the man. We supposed to be like, it's I have no idea.
I can tell you how to fix a steak, but I don't know about that car.
I can change a tire.
Yeah, I can do that.
That's about it.
Great. No more showing masculinity, please. They imbue the Ironheart suit with magic, which accidentally erases Natalie AI. Parker's dad is a horrible, no good, very bad man. On top
the suit looks really fire.
Many things. Yeah.
I want to mention that real quick.
It looks great. Suit. Yeah.
I love the new suit.
Yeah.
Right. Can dress down, but is not quite the best father, because that's what you said. We said it earlier. But
no. You talking about Riri's suit, right? You wasn't talking about.
Riri's suit was incredible.
Yeah. We're not talking about what nobody remembers what that man was wearing.
He did have a nice tie on. I do remember that.
But he's a horrible father.
He's a horrible father. Let's talk about the dad for a tiny.
Is that episode 6? Before we get to that?
No, this is episode.
Yeah, we meet him in 5. We meet him in 5.
We meet him in 5. This is when the interaction happens with Parker.
Yeah.
Oh no, because you're right. Because I have my notes when he has an orgasm when he sits down in his dad's chair.
Oh my God.
I mean, he did, He had a real visceral reaction to sitting in that man's chair. It was
because he got everything he asked for, so he thought.
But
I'm gonna have to watch it again.
But
on second watch,
a
lot of things came out on my second
watch.
I
watched it the second time. I didn't see the orgasm. I'm gonna have to watch that a third time.
He's like,
Hey, yo,
my God.
He does.
Chris, I want to go to you real quick, because you said this earlier about trauma being a very center point of this series. We see the trauma front and center with his dad not giving a fuck about Parker since he was 12, apparently. After the mom died, he said, I never really liked you anyway, nigga. Get the fuck out my house.
Yeah.
So that dynamic was and I'm just like, is this the Disney thing where they just like all the parents are trash. Like, it's so fucked up.
Yeah, it gives you a reason, his reason for why he is the way he is, or at least one of them. His dad didn't love him, and he never got that acceptance because he wanted to be stupid, dumb, rich, and powerful.
He said nasty, get filthy. Something he said greasy rich, greasy. I ain't never heard that.
That was a lot. But he wanted
it like that.
So it was just a testament to that's the reason why he is the way he is, and it making him a super villain, his evil ass dad.
I want to know if they get tired of looking alike in real life. Okay, they look like family, and from the moment we saw that man's face, because they flashed to his face in an earlier episode, I'm like, okay,
a lot of ads and stuff. Yeah,
I'm like, so that's his dad. So I knew immediately. I knew immediately.
Yeah. Immediately. I didn't.
Yes. You have him, as I said last episode, you have the hood walking around with his African face and his freckles.
No.
Then you show this
right.
random
you said his African nose.
I might have said that too. Right. His African, but it's an African face that he has. Then you have his black dad show up. This is the only black dad outside of Riri's dad who shows up. Well, he's a black man. He's an older black man with freckles. I'm like, oh, his dad. I knew immediately that was his dad. And then he shows up. I need to see them in a full separate series, being dad and father, because that was excellent casting. My goodness.
It was excellent. He is Puerto Rican and of African and indigenous descent. So
he has a whole African face. So yes.
No, I'm talking about the dad. I know.
Oh, the dad. Yes.
They do. I know.
No, Ramos, you're right.
Ramos has an African face. Yeah, but
you're right. They do look
until you pointed it out.
They do look.
I've been a Ramos hater for so long.
No, you're absolutely right. Janicia.
I hate anyone involved with
Hamilton.
You know it, brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like hate, pure, unadulterated. Yeah.
Okay. Well, sound like you.
But y'all like Hamilton?
No, I just want to know. I want to see your resume and all the places that you work, because I'm sure it's places that are questionable on there. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm just saying we all got to work.
One of them where I was sitting there making cake, like that off of something like that. I can say that profoundly. And hey, how much cake do you need is all I can say. Look,
the dad that I said you was a liability. I didn't want you. Then he said them words.
Oh yeah, straight from I didn't like you. It was really.
I don't want you. Like
it was ugly. It was real. Like it was some of the most disrespect. Like I've heard a lot of bad dads
said I didn't want you.
Yeah, but it was he was just like, get the fuck out of here. Like like you're just like, why are you even here, dude? Like didn't you get the message after 30 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was real disrespectful.
Yeah,
it was intense.
And then it ends, as y'all said, it ends with him getting what he wants, and according to Ben, him, climaxing.
I mean, he definitely has a visceral reaction to sitting in
that
chair.
Yeah. But
thank you.
I think that might just be the influence of what's going on.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I'm exaggerating for comedic effect, but my man has he sits in the chair and he feels it.
Hey, what's up, internets and the fan fam? This is Tatiana King for ForAllNerds, and I want to thank you so much for listening and watching the ForAllNerds. Make sure you like and subscribe to us only on YouTube.
ForAllNerds Show is a member of the Loudspeakers Network, where we always say rest in peace to our founder, Combat Jack.
For All Nerds Show is powered by our listeners. Everything we do, from our podcasts, live events, our website, are all independently funded. Please continue to support us through our Patreon page at patreon.com/ForAllNerds.